Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Thanks for watching, as always, on YouTube TV today, listening on Sirius XM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. We're going to head across town here to begin the hour as Ed Salmons joins the program, VP Risk Management over at the Westgate Superbook, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Ed, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Good, Mitch. How are you?
Doing really well. Let's go back to the opening numbers a week ago after the Bo Nix news came out and the Patriots eventually beat Houston. Some books were hanging Patriots -6 in that game, and you and Jeff Sherman and everybody else involved at the Westgate, I presume, decided to go 4.5 on the game. What was the difference there between the 4.5 and the 6, in your opinion?
Well, we were discussing the game, and we thought 3.5 to 4 was high end, and then we're seeing these 6s out there, and we're like, 6, that's just crazy. So we just we tried to pick kind of a dead number that we didn't think mattered. 4.5, 5. Basically NFL games don't land. 4 and 5 land like the same number of times. Mm-hmm. It's not like it used to be back in the day. 6 is definitely a number that falls much more often than 4 and 5. So, we just wanted to pick a number and kind of go with that. And we all had the game lower.
Okay.
So we just hung at 4.5.
So at your shop, then, how have bettors been approaching this game as we have 2 full days before kickoff?
Right. So, we put a 4.5 and there's 6 out there, mostly 5.5. So obviously we know what we're going to get here. So, you're getting all the, arbitrage guys just laying 4.5 and obviously taking 6 when they can. So, we eventually inched up, and I think we all met together at like 5 on Monday morning. 5. I think we were dealing 5. There was plenty of 5.5 out there, and it kind of stayed that way. And then this morning we lowered to 4.5. It's obvious that the number's going down, and one of our house customers bet $20,000 on Broncos +4 and Broncos money line +200. So, right now we're sitting at 4 and 220, 190 on the money line.
As the week went on, are you a little disappointed or surprised that it's so much that the dog has become very popular here wherever you look and turn and what you watch?
I am surprised. I thought that there'd be definitely more New England talk, and it's like, they're being discounted. They've kind of been like that all year, though. All I've heard is how they've played this terrible schedule, and all the teams they play have losing records. And, they just played 2 really good teams, I thought, at home, in the Chargers and the Texans. And, I thought they played well considering the Texans defense is just a monster, and they had some big plays in that game. And, I thought they played a really good game. I was impressed with them.
So how do you see this game going then? And if you had to bet it at this point, would you actually be looking at the Patriots?
Not yet. I would look to see how low the number is going to go. Obviously, I think it's going to close 3.5. The question is, will there be a 3 out there? A 3, I definitely lay a 3. But right now, I'm just going to stay back and kind of see where the sharp money comes in. I mean, as far as the game, it's pretty obvious that what we've seen from the Patriots defense is you're not going to run against them. Mm-hmm. I mean, Houston kept trying to run, and they just couldn't gain a yard against them. Same with the Chargers. They couldn't run. And that's, they're going to make Stidham beat them. So however, Peyton's going to go about that, we'll see.
Do you think he can? What do you expect out of Stidham?
I mean, he played, what was it, in 22? I think he played with the Raiders back then. And, it was just like closing the season out. I know during the preseason he looked decent, but the Patriots or Denver was definitely making a point of trying to win preseason games. So I always discount that.
Yeah.
When a team's trying to win, you can make anyone look good. So, I'm sure it's going to be, don't make mistakes, be careful, manage the game, all that stuff. So, Vrabel's a really good coach, and, I think he understands what he's getting into here.
If he plays well, they win. What do you make the Super Bowl number?
Well, we do have some look-aheads right now, and obviously, as we saw last year with the Chiefs and the Eagles, what people see last or whatever the main perception that comes out of these games is basically how the Super Bowl line will go.
Yeah.
Right now we have Seattle 8.5 over Denver, and we have the Rams 9 over Denver. And, again, it's dead numbers. It could be as low as 7.5. And based on, let's just say Denver wins by, a lot of luck or some breaks, it could be as high as 10.
Oh, wow.
So if the Rams,
Yeah.
let me ask you this then to follow up. Ed Salmon's our guest, VP Risk Management over at the Westgate. If the Rams right now are a higher number against the Broncos in the Super Bowl than the Seahawks would be, can you take us through the Seahawks number this week against the Rams as they're laying 2.5 here as home favorites, and how much, I guess, of that power rating gets baked in with the home field advantage, and what these two teams would be like on a neutral field?
Well, I think you have a couple of things working against the Rams here. Obviously, this is their third straight road game. They played at Carolina, then they played at Chicago. Now they're at Seattle. Seattle, on the other hand, had the bye week, and then they basically had a scrimmage for a half against the 49ers. So, they basically have all their guys healthy here. 2.5 in the NFL, modern day NFL, is basically saying these teams are even. So if you put them on a neutral field, we think the game's like pick. So 2.5 for home field advantage for Seattle. And, it's a great rivalry. It's a third game, and you can look at the first two games. And, the first game was a really low scoring game that Seattle turned the ball over like crazy and still had a chance to win the game with a field goal at the end. And then the second game, the Rams had this huge lead on a Thursday with short travel and really should have won the game. Seattle had some miracle overturned 2-point conversion that allowed the game to get to overtime. So, these teams are really close.
Totally agree. And how have bettors over at the Westgate been approaching this game then? I think Westgate has had the lowest number on the Seahawks money line compared to like almost every other national book that I've been monitoring throughout the week.
Yeah, I know we started at minus 140 and immediately got action on Seattle. I think we got as high as $1.50, and we're back to 40 now. We basically opened 2.5, received some early money on Seattle. Like I told you earlier, we had the one sharp bet on the Rams at plus 2.5 even. We're 2.5 minus 08 right now, and all the money right now is on Seattle. It's just an avalanche of Seattle money, but as the weekend comes and the California people come around, we think that'll change a little bit.
When do you go into the bunker and get ready on these props? As you had the announcement, you're going a day early, and Super Bowl props will be available Wednesday at 7.
Yeah, well, preparations already started this week, and, Monday will be an all-day session as far as getting everything prepared, and then we start Tuesday at 7 a.m., and we're going to work all the way through and get it all finished. So basically Wednesday morning through the afternoon, we'll just have to clean some things up here and price out some index props, and we'll be ready to roll Wednesday at 7 o'clock this year.
And you guys take 2 dimes on the props, and bettors can take 2 at a time, then go back to the end of the line?
Yeah, we usually have a long line. It's usually somewhere between 20 to 30 people, and they get 2 limit bets for 2 dimes each, and then back of the line, and it just keeps circulating until we either close or they're done. So we'll see how it goes.
So to finish here on what you were saying on the Seahawks game, if it's all Seahawks money at this point, but you said wait until we get all the California money this weekend, where do you think this number close? This is not going to touch 3. I can't imagine, or am I wrong on that?
If it touches 3, it'll be grabbed in 2 seconds.
Right.
I mean, that's what I think the whole motivation when they put this line up at 2.5, and they were just, people were betting it up to like minus 20. They're obviously trying to push people to get to 3, so they could have laid 2.5 and take 3. Mm-hmm. So you may see a rogue 3 here or there, unless one of the groups plays it, which you never know. I mean, a group could play and push it right to 3, but I definitely think even if they did it, you get buyback, and most likely this thing's going to be like 2.5 and juice, or if it does get to 3, big juice on the Rams.
Okay, so any chance it goes the other way, and it could close Seahawks minus 2?
It could. I mean, 1.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. It's the same number.
Pretty
it's
much the same
immaterial. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Ed. Thanks for your perspective, man. Really appreciate that. Have a good weekend, okay?
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thanks,
There you
Ed.
go. Ed Simmons, longtime VP Risk Management over at the Westgate, very sharp on the National Football League, joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Yeah, I think if it goes to 3, Paul, that's going to be gone in a second.
Stidham 18-1 at DraftKings MVP. You asked about how he's going to sleep Saturday night. I think just let it loose, let it go, and let it rip, and you can make a lot of money if you win the game and you put up good numbers.
Would you rather bet him at that number right now or the Broncos to win the Super Bowl? You know how this goes every year.
Yeah, Super Bowl, though. No, Super Bowl. Because I'm still thinking Belichick. You don't have to be the reason we win. Don't be the reason we lose. Hello, C.J. Stroud. Just don't do anything stupid early on.
You asked me a question earlier this week. Am I more intrigued now that it's Stidham, kind of the unknown here for the Broncos rather than Bo Nix? Where are you at with that?
I am, yes.
You're more intrigued by it?
Yeah. I was like Albright. I mean, I thought the question was fair, even though they're the 1 seed. How good are they? I mean, how many times did they look like an average team out of the gates against Tennessee and the Sunday night game, the London game? It was like, this is a 1 seed?
Well,
I mean, and then the Jacksonville game, so they had the great record.
You're spot on.
It's like people in Denver questioning, how good is this team? And then he misses Knox wide open. Buffalo gives him the game. Jacksonville did whatever they wanted. But I think it's more intriguing now that you got a guy who hasn't thrown a pass in 3 years. If he's able to win a game and go to the Super Bowl.
How do you think you would have bet it if Nick didn't get hurt?
Patriots.
Opta AI stat projections next. Things have changed, but this player is 18-0 under this prop on the season.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Taking a peek at player props for the weekend. By the way, Adam Chernoff on the program coming up in 15 minutes. His thoughts on the 2 games that we have. You can always go. So many tools right now on the website. Had them for a long time. This football season has been a blast to track them. Same thing with the NBA. But the VSiN prop analyzer in the NFL and also like the AI prop projections. I'll give you this with the analyzer. Drake May is 14-4 over 225.5 passing yards on the year. He's 15-3 over 259.5 passing and rushing yards combined. He had 268 the first game, $179 last game. Opta AI projects 270 yards, Paulie. This Broncos defense, they can't be thrown on?
Yep.
Question mark?
No doubt.
14, I get it again. The schedule was a thing in the regular season. You can't deny it. But I don't think this Broncos defense is as good as what people think. And
right.
225 seems pretty low for a guy that went over that mark 14 times this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's that.
Yep. The other great discussion is what can Stidham do? And if he can ladder Stidham. Throw. Short stuff. Peyton believes in him. Peyton doesn't like to run the ball. What if they're also playing from behind? And they fall behind, and the whole second half they have to throw. He is plus 540 at DraftKings to have 280 yards. He is plus 440 to have 270. And plus 350 to have 260. I mean, these are doable numbers for a guy who's done it in the past.
Well, for a coach that loves to throw the football.
That's right, yeah. Maybe he's not even him that's responsible. It could be a dump-off that goes a long way, and it just adds up, and there's a lot of yak.
A lot of yak.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, 12-6 over 254.5 passing yards this year, 16-2 over 1.5 touchdowns. 16-2 over 1.5 touchdowns. And the 2 games against Seattle, he threw for $130 and 2 scores the first game, 457 and 3 scores the second game.
See, that screws everything up. That's the game that's weird.
With no Devontae.
Yeah, there was no Adams. And they also came out running the ball, too, early on. I expect that Sunday from McVay.
Well, so, like, what's the game flow here?
I don't think he's healthy. I think the finger's giving him problems. Look how he struggled since that happened. Since that play, he hasn't been the same quarterback.
Do you think Seattle gets out to a lead in this game? Or are they playing catch up a little bit like the last couple of games that they played the Rams? Because Sam Darnold is 11-6 under 30.5 pass attempts on the year. However, he went over both games against the Rams. He had 44 and 34 in those two games.
They might surprise him. They might come out throwing. Who knows? They might try to get JSN going early and Kupp going early, and then they could have the play with that lead. It also comes down to this is hard to handicap. When you look at the playoffs so far, and especially last week, some of these quarterbacks have been awful. Just stupid mistakes.
Right.
And then again, going back to the Bears, I mean, how do you have miscommunication this late in the season in the biggest game of the season, which also happened in the national title game, too, with Miami. But that with the Moore Williams play. But for Stroud to play like that and the turnovers, and although they recovered most of them, May has fumbled 6 times in 2 games. Maybe Stafford has the key interception early and the floodgates open. I don't know. But that's hard to handicap. But I would say if someone's going to screw it up, though, based on history, the implosion's coming in Seattle with the guy who led the league in turnovers.
Kyren Williams, Rams running back, 16-3 over 54.5 rushing yards on the year. In the 2 games against Seattle, 12 for 91 and a touchdown, 23 for 70 in the second game. He's also 15-4 over 72.5 rushing and receiving yards. Well, I just told you about the success he had running the football for the yardage anyway compared to his prop number. And Paul Charchian came on yesterday, made a great case for him to go over with the receiving, and so did Ryan Kramer last hour on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the guy that you go to war with here. And they talked about saving him for the playoffs. They tried to run the football the second. Like, they came out, and Sean McVay basically told Mike Macdonald, we're going to run the ball right down your throats this game. Now, it didn't go right down their throats, but they tried to punish him early. And 5 of the 6 plays were a run attempt.
You believe him?
To Kyren Williams.
Is he saying the same thing? I believe him. I believe Peyton. I think McVay was disappointed in himself, and he said he did a bad job after the game, and I think will be more rushing attack early and don't get away from Williams, especially how Stafford struggled against the Chicago defense and at times failed to protect him.
Right. So I was asking about, what the game flow here, and if you think Seattle jumps on them possibly early, and how it would play out after that, because Darnold, again, under the 30.5 pass attempts, also I think is kind of correlated with Kenneth Walker. Now, like the Lone Ranger in the backfield, no Zach Charbonnet for the most part.
Yep.
14-4 under 86.5 rushing yards on the year. 18-0 under 19.5 attempts. Does he get 20 attempts first game with no Zach Charbonnet? First game the entire year that he would touch 20.
Well, are they having success on the ground, and what happens with the passing attack?
Sure.
I would say yes, though. That's going to happen.
Rashid Shaheed is 15-4 under 6.5 rushing yards. I think the game plan is going to have it now this time of year. He's such a weapon. What a great pickup, by the way, for this team midseason. I think they're going to have something dialed up for this guy. Rushing, whatever it is, taking a shot deep, might be the first play of the game. Who knows? I don't think I want to get in front of that. I know it's 15-4 under. I don't think I want to bet the under there. JSN is 13-5 over 89.5 receiving yards. Against the Rams this year, in the first game, he had 9 for 105. The second time, 8 for 96 and a touchdown.
Puka's gone to 6 yards rushing at DraftKings.
He made the move, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it was the Puka game against Seattle in Week 16 was everything.
Yes.
And he could have had more.
Mm-hmm.
Would he have 225 in that game? Devontae Adams is 13-3 over 3.5 receptions. He only played in one game against Seattle this year.
1 catch?
1 catch, 8 yards, touchdown.
Can't do it. No. He's not right.
And then here's another guy, too.
Only 2 catches against the Bears. Yep.
Does A.J. Barner have a day? He's 14-4 under 3.5 catches on the year. However, in the 2 games against the Rams, he had 10 catches the first time out, 4 catches the last game. Opta AI projects for 3.4.
Good catch. Good observation. I think you also have to look at any time because of the tush push.
And then you want to bet the mentions on the game? Tush push?
And the mentions. That's right. Kalshi's got the mentions. I don't think it's going to happen in the AFC game, but in the NFC game, you're going to see Barner with the tush push. Mm-hmm. But anytime's low. He's only 2-1.
Ramondre Stevenson had 16 carries last week. Travion Henderson had 12, only 25 yards for him. On the year, Ramondre Stevenson, 12-4 under 12.5 attempts. Henderson, 13-6 over 8.5 attempts. Their current numbers right now. Stevenson's been the more impactful guy for this team in the playoffs. I think they run it with him.
He's 6-1 most rushing yards.
Stevenson.
I think there's a case right there. Yes. I don't mind that.
I think if they're playing in front and they're going to run the football, they rely on him, and he's going to go over 12.5 attempts.
Yeah, if you're playing with the lead, no doubt. Lean on him. You saw what Cook did against Denver. Maybe McVay's fibbing a little bit, and there's more of Corum. Maybe they contain Walker. Maybe Stevenson's going to have 80, 90 yards, and it holds up.
I can see that.
6-1 Cassius, yes. Henderson, 60. Oh, boy. That's still big for a home run hitter. I mean, I think of the Tampa Bay game and the New England game when he had the long runs.
Oh, sure. That's when.
That's for the playoffs. My mistake. That's not
for the whole playoffs.
That was Henderson's. That's for the playoffs. Yes, but Stevenson is 6-1 for the game.
Okay, I was going to say if that was 60-1 this weekend, I think we need to go to a commercial break right now and bet that.
Let me get
immediately.
Yeah, I'll get in a second.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's. I like Stevenson. If you told me right now the Patriots are going to be in front, like from the first quarter, and you're betting that, Paulie, right? You like them because the entire year they've done that. They've jumped on teams. I think they ride that guy.
He's 12-1 at Caesars. Football meets flavor with VSiN and Omaha Steaks, official sponsor of tailgating. And right now, when you spend $129, you get 2 pounds of fully cooked wings, 50% off site-wide, omahasteaks.com/VSiN. Spend $129 and get 2 pounds of wings and save 50% off site-wide. Steaks and more. Incredible menu selection delivered right to your door. omahasteaks.com/VSiN. Minimum purchase required. See the site for details.
I did take a flyer on that prop over at Caesars and Will Hill, a little pizza money on something that you noticed earlier this week. Will both quarterbacks in the Broncos-Patriots game have 25 plus completions?
Yes.
28-1. FanDuel has 19-1. They have the same prop but a much lower number.
So, yeah, right. Stuff like that. Puka, Williams, that we've talked about, that is plus money. The Walker, you're laying a price because he's going to get so many carries. But like the 5 yards a quarter, a catch every quarter, 10 yards every quarter, 25 yards each half, 50 yards each half, all that stuff is there, like 200 different ways to bet the game. And most of the stuff is plus prices.
What did Frank B tell you?
I'd much rather talk about a Super Bowl where we're discussing how do you slow down the 2 MVP quarterbacks as opposed to how do you move the ball and score on the 2 top defenses.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Adam Chernoff on the program coming up next. What has he noticed in the betting market this week, and how does he see the AFC title game going with the Broncos down to a backup quarterback? We'll talk NFC title game with him as well coming up here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
News coming across right now, injury report-wise, for the AFC title game. J.K. Dobbins is not going to make it back. He's out. Pat Bryant, wide receiver, no designation on the IR, so he is going to play your guy, Paulie Halani, activated off the IR, so he is, in theory, going to be there to back up Kenneth Walker. We head out here to the Progressive guest line and go to Parts Unknown. Our buddy Adam Chernoff joins the program now. Hey, Adam, what's going on, man?
It's going great. This has been a fun week. I see Paulie's on the phone. He's rushing to get RJ Harvey props over in with that Dobbins news. Is that what's going on?
I want to wait for a minute because I want to bet more on Harvey under for the rushing yards anyway.
Yeah. You said something interesting during the break, and you tweeted out as well, that you can't recall a backup quarterback getting this much hype in terms of, he's going to show you, and people making the case that he's going to put up big numbers here from a guy who hasn't completed a pass in 3 years and has one career win.
You would think he's a top 10 quarterback the way that he's being talked about. Yes. That is Jarrett Stidham. It's wild. As long as I can remember and as long as I'm going to live, I cannot imagine a scenario where there's a backup QB that's going to be talked about with this high regard. I mean, it started Monday morning, and it's like every single person that I'm reading online, so many media personalities, ex-players, teammates. I mean, everybody's talking about Stidham like he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. And so, yeah, I know we got 2 games left. I don't recall anything like this. I don't. Maybe something comes to your mind, but nothing for me like this.
Okay, well then, what do you think of the point spread in that game and how it's developed now throughout the entire week? First of all, opened up 6, and you know what? DraftKings was down to 3.5 earlier today. They're back to 4.5 now. So, what have you noticed overall?
So I think the main talking point is obviously the look-ahead line and where it was. It was the Broncos as a slight favorite, and that was before the games were played last weekend and the injuries. I don't believe that that's where this game would have opened, and I don't believe that is where this game would have closed if Nix was not hurt, given how the games played out last weekend. I think we would have probably saw pick as an opener. I think New England would have taken a little bit of money off of that. And so I get what everybody is looking at and saying that initial opener of 6, based on what happened, that was a lot, and the market quickly corrected that. We're at 4.5 for the most part now. I think that point spread is going to come down. I think we're still going to see some Denver money come in just because this sentiment against it or in favor of Stidham, but against the adjustment up is just so strong. I think that's going to ride into the weekend. My favorite bet on this game is absolutely on the total, and that's my favorite of the weekend. Do we want to get into that matchup?
No doubt. Yeah. Please.
So to me, I don't want to bet into this QB back and forth. I don't buy into it being that big of a miss. What I do buy into is that both teams and both offenses are going to move the ball, and this game is going to go over 42.5. So focusing still on Stidham, which is the big talking point. Peyton has said that he is going to come out, and the strategy is they're going to sling it. Like, they're going to let him throw. But the reason they're going to let him throw is because the Broncos' offensive line is really, really, really good. And the Patriots' pass rush coming into the playoffs and ending the regular season was a big problem for New England. But it's looked really good because they've played the Chargers and the Texans, who do not have good offensive lines whatsoever.
Yeah.
They've also got 2 indoor teams going outdoors into weather-impacted games where the defense was kind of able to feast, and you saw just an all-time bad QB performance from C.J. Stroud. So to me, this Patriots defense is overrated because of who they have faced, and now they're going on the road into Denver to play a great offensive line. It doesn't matter if it's Nix or Stidham or, God forbid, Ben DiNucci. Whoever's the Broncos quarterback in his pocket's going to have time. They're going to be throwing the football. They're going to be able to make plays. And so that's point number 1 on that side. On the other side, speaking of overrated defenses, the Broncos finished the regular season playing 2 backup quarterbacks, and they held both of them to 13 and 3 points. The last 4 games that we have seen this defense play against starting quarterbacks who are not injured, without any backups being involved, for the last 6 weeks, and they've conceded at least 26 points in each of those and haven't been able to get off the field and haven't been able to get stops. And to me, New England coming in a lot better than some of these offenses that they have played, not named the Buffalo Bills, who, by the way, didn't have wide receivers. And so Drake May has been awesome at extending time in the pocket. Even those concerns with left tackle here for the Pats, I think he navigates them. So to me, both of these offenses move it. Both of these defenses overrated. We have a total, perhaps more importantly, that was adjusted down from 46 on those look-aheads to 42.5. To me, that's too low. I think this one goes over. It's my favorite bet of the weekend.
Very good. Excellent point as well. New England was 26th in sacks, and Chargers looked terrible, and then Roman lost his job as a result of it. How about the under move in the NFC title game today?
Well, it's a question of, are both of these quarterbacks hurt?
Right.
I don't know what's going on. Last week at this time when we were talking, there was a lot of concern about Sam Darnold and what's his health and what's his status. And this week he was held back from throwing activities. And so this probably isn't a Harbaugh and Baltimore-esque style of McDonald playing the news and trying to make everybody think that Darnold's actually hurt. We also didn't get really a glimpse of what might be wrong, because last week he completed 12 passes and they won by 35 points, which is one of the craziest box scores you're ever going to see. But after they returned the opening kick for a TD, I mean, Sam Darnold didn't have to do anything whatsoever in that game, especially with some of the short fields that they were given. So how hurt is Sam Darnold? And what are we looking at with Stafford? He hasn't looked the same since the hand injury when he hit the helmet in the first playoff game. So that's something that stands out, which I think is contributing to some of this under money coming in. I think a second thing is just the Seahawks' overwhelming defense and how great they looked, but also the Rams back-to-back road games. You have the overtime game, which in the regular season tends to throttle offense as well. So I think all of that is playing into this under coming down. And we might see that continue. Maybe we see a closer here of about 45, the way that this is trending. But as I look at this, to me, the side is the play here as you're looking at the Rams plus 2.5. That is how I would look in this game. And I think the liability, the biggest one here for either side, as you're looking at this matchup, is the Seahawks issue at left tackle is very real. We might see, I mean, depends who starts, but all three options that they have at left tackle are far from 100%. So the Rams have a very clear path to generate a lot of pressure, to blitz, to bring extra guys. That's where Sam Darnold throughout his entire career has really struggled. And he struggled this season too, when that has been the case. And I think back to the last time that these two teams played, the Rams didn't have Adams, they didn't have Dotson, they didn't have Lake on the defensive side. All of those guys are back. It's a much different team, and that was a game the Rams most certainly should have won. And so if the Rams are able to generate a lot of pressure, cause Darnold some issues, you don't have your better blocking running back with Charbonnet out in the backfield, so it's going to take Walker into a bit of a different role. And you have the chance here that this is Darnold, perhaps not 100%, dealing with some issues coverage-wise that he's not been able to beat his entire career. And I think that's a really big advantage for the Rams. And so as difficult as it might be for them to move it on the offensive side, even if they go heavier personnel, to me, the Rams defense has potentially a pretty big advantage. And that 49ers outcome might be a little bit misleading relative to what's going on with the injury situation.
I will tell you this I think for Seattle backers in this game, they better hope what you said doesn't happen right away. And that is the Rams getting heat on Darnold from the get-go, because remember what happened last year in the playoff game when he played the Rams defense for the Vikings and they got in his face right away. And all the jokes took off like wildfire, like, uh-oh, he's seeing ghosts again. And like it was never the same. Like they never got back into that game, and he was just lost out there on the field the way it looked.
As a Jets fan, I know that feeling all too well. And sadly, having him in those ghost games, looking back on it, was our peak QB play of the last decade as a fan. But you're 100% right. If this starts early, he's not 100%, you get that pressure. This could spiral in a hurry for that Seattle offense. So it's hard not to think about that, and it's a big edge for the Rams. You're right.
What Super Bowl do you want to see?
I want to see the Pats against the Rams, not for the rematch sake, but just you get the two MVP quarterbacks going at it. I think the props that will come from that far more exciting than having a backup quarterback and Darnold and the Seahawks, which is kind of a unique offense that's very top heavy with one guy. So give me the two better QBs, give me the two better offenses, give me a bit higher scoring, give me more props, and you get all the wide receiver runs that the teams employ and stuff. There'll be a lot of angles with that.
Yep, we totally agree. You can follow him on X. He is at Adam Chernoff. Awesome as always. Thank you. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the two games.
You too. He was on the Progressive Guest line. Up next, let's get nuts. Have some guts. Paulie has long shot bets for the two title games. And I'll give you an under-the-radar player who has been on fire from deep in the NBA coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
It's that time to get nuts and have some guts.
Hey, you want to get nuts? Come on. Guts. Show some guts. A little guts here. Guts.
Stidham most passing yards, plus 650. The love affair started Monday for a guy who's won one career game, but why not? With a stubborn coach who doesn't like to run the ball, a pass-happy attack. Maybe they're getting blown out and they're playing catch-up in the second half or forced to play catch-up. 2 games plus 650 for a guy who's done it before? Why not? 100 yards each half, 3-1. Mitch has mentioned this several times. Both quarterbacks to complete 25 passes, 28-1 at Caesars.
No pizza money there.
Sure. What if we have a 28-24? That could happen. Parkinson, most yards for a tight end plus 550. 100 yards most for the day. Only 2 games. That was freaky what happened with Seattle and San Francisco. Blowout, it's over early. Strange things can happen when there's only 2 games. And that's why the last 2 weeks we've had a 400-1 and a 250-1 cash for most receiving yards. Most yards for a tight end. Higbee, 13. Maybe 50, 60 yards holds up. Most rushing yards, Stevenson, 6-1. And at FanDuel, each quarterback throws an interception is 6-1. May is minus 145, no, which I think is a surprise at DraftKings. There's a couple there. Good luck. Oh, one more, because Guru will play it. We'll coming up in a second. Guru's been all over Pop Douglas the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Douglas to have 40 yards at DraftKings is 40-1. Let's go.
All right, let me give you some NBA stuff for tonight. A guy that I've been betting several times over the last couple of weeks on the show, Grayson Allen, last 6 games, almost 5 makes per game on 12.5 attempts. I get it, Jalen Green is back. He still had 9 the other game with 4 makes. He's made 4 times and 6 in one game, 7 in the other to go over. Over 2.5 was recently around minus 115. Tonight, about $1.60. How about we get nuts? 4 plus 164. 5 plus 380. Teams have shot 36% from deep against Atlanta on the year. They're middle of the pack. Another guy. This prop has moved a good 30 cents. Sam Hauser in 10 January games. 4.1 makes on 8.5 attempts. 48%. Kid's on fire. Mm-hmm. Over 2.5 made in 7 out of 10 games. He was recently $1.13 when I bet him on the show the other day. Over 2.5 in 4 straight. But now that's minus 180. 4 plus was plus 144 today. I tried to bet it for hours. There was something wrong with the book. It said system fail. They moved it to plus 108 now on him. 5 plus is around 3-1. Teams shoot 38% from deep against Brooklyn, second best percentage in the entire league. Duncan Robinson's last 6 games for the Pistons. 7.8 attempts, but 4.3 makes, 55%. 4 plus in every game over his last 6. Tonight, minus 110 over 2.5. 4 plus is 2-1. 5 plus is plus 450. Teams are middle of the pack shooting the 3 against Houston. And how about this for under the radar? Oklahoma City is tied for the 5th worst 3-point percentage defense in the NBA, 37%. They get Indiana tonight, rematch of the finals. Siakam had 32 and was 5 of 12 from deep when they lost to Oklahoma City, second night of the season in overtime. Last year in the finals, he only took 4 per game from downtown, shot 36%. But his last 4 games of this season, 4 of 7, 4 of 8, 4 of 8, 4 of 11. He had good games against Oklahoma City last year in the finals despite not shooting the 3. Tonight, over 1.5, as low as minus 125. 3 plus is now plus 265 on him. 4 plus is 7-1. Earlier today, 5 plus was 12-1. That's now off the board. You might be able to find 15-1 on 5 plus for him. That's 4 makes in 4 straight games. You're going to give me plus 215 on 3 plus? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Good luck tonight. Fun card. Here's what I mentioned earlier. Here is the Guru. All right. We'll get to that in a second. But the Guru making the case for Pop. And he had Pop last week. He had Booty as well, who had a big game against the Chargers. Here's Guru on why he likes Pop Douglas over.
We're going to go with Demario Prop Douglas to go over 14.5 receiving yards. That is minus 118. Bet MGM. Here's the data. Denver giving up the 4th fewest schedule-adjusted fantasy points per game to opposing slots the last 5 weeks. That doesn't sound promising. However, That did not stop Khalil Shakir from racking up the 7 for 75. The deal here is, as we've noted, I'm going to call him Prop Douglas indefinitely because we're undefeated on Prop Douglas props, because he's been insanely good against man coverage this year, averaging a fat 3.61 yards per route run. The Broncos run man a lot, single high looks 63% of the time. Douglas sees a 116% boost to his yards per route run against single high compared to two high looks.
And as I mentioned earlier, 40 yards is 4-1. You want to do that in ladder at DraftKings. That's one that the guru's on.
All right. You can always tweet the show as well at VSiN Live, at Mitch Moss Radio, at Paulie Howard. This is from T. Velinari. Who's behind Charbonnet? Walker's going to need some relief. We touched on this a little earlier. We'll tell you again. For those just tuning into the program, the backup is George Halani. And it was a question going back and forth like all week long. Is he going to be activated? Is he going to be good to go? He's been cleared, so he can be out there as the backup running back to Kenneth Walker. So, like, he's going to get something in this game. I don't think Walker's going to have 30 carries and 9 catches in the game out of the backfield. He'll come off the field at some point.
Yep.
And I don't know if it turns into, if it turns into a Seahawks-Niners type game where it's a bloodbath, the look would be Halani to score the last touchdown, but that seems pretty far-fetched. So the tight ends to attack, I think, Barner in that game, but also, like, I love Arroyo, man.
Yeah, okay. Will Peyton do it again?
Batman touchdown?
45-1.
No, I think that was last week only. We'll see something else this week. Will we see like a flea flicker or a double pass, something like that? I can see that.
They have that.
What is it called?
Where's the price? I think it's 50-1. Non-quarterback to throw a touchdown.
Oh, to throw a touchdown. Okay.
Yeah. If you get another Jennings play.
We actually, people were asking us earlier today if we have noticed a prop at any book where the amount of quarterbacks to throw a pass this weekend.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen that one. That's not bad. That should be offered.
Yeah.
5.
You've been awfully quiet on Hunter Henry today.
Already. What do you mean? Already talked about him. I think he has a big game. In terms of what?
How about laddering him then?
Yeah, I could see it. Sure.
Is his number too low to bet for most yards by tight end this weekend?
Yes, he's the chalk.
Yeah, for sure. But that doesn't mean you can't ladder at some pretty good prices.
Yeah.
Like, could he go out there and have a day where it's 80 yards? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think down the middle, when we talked to Chad Andrus earlier this week, who covers the Broncos in Denver, he's like, yeah, you can attack this defense down the middle a lot because their cornerbacks are so good and getting stuff on the outside is maybe a little bit more difficult. So Henry would be that guy to gobble up catches and yards. And he's been, one of his best targets the entire year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So now, this hour anyway, Ed Salmons and Adam Chernoff, it took until, we had a guest on yesterday, Andy Gresh as well, but it took until the, final couple of days of this week leading into the game where we're finally starting to hear, man, it's been so much positive about Stidham and the Broncos.
Well, I know they've been pushing back in New England too. That's fair. What do you think about the Triple Crown? That's up now.
Okay, well, Stidham, most passing.
Okay.
Let's begin there.
Oh, man. Stidham, JSN, Walker, 60-1. Stidham, where's Puka? Stidham, where's Puka? Oh, man, the lists are so long.
How about Stidham?
Stidham, Puka, Stevenson, 120-1.
Yeah,
come on.
That's what I was. Okay, or like what's a Stidham, Parkinson, Stevenson?
No, that's going to take a while.
That's got to be 1,001.
That's going to take a while.
Actually, Stidham, Puka, and Stevenson I can see that happen.
Sure, absolutely. May, JSN, Harvey, 140-1.
No,
if you love the moments that make sports betting unforgettable, don't miss the top 10 most memorable sports betting moments of 2025, hosted by Tim Murray, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. The biggest swings, wildest finishes, most unforgettable tickets. Relive the moments bettors won't stop talking about. Tuesday at 1 Eastern, only on VSiN. Looking forward to it. It's wild.
Professional sports bettor and this year's winner of the Friday Night Circa Invitational, Chris Macero on the program, a diehard Patriots fan. What does he think about all this positivity towards the Broncos this week?